All right, it's 11:06. We're just gonna get ahead and get started. I'm sure people will be going in and out, but that's okay. All right, so welcome to the Colonial History of the Pacific Islander Diet. We will be your hosts for today. And so we will do, quick introduction. So my name is Nestor Tupufia Enguerra Jr. My pronouns are he, his, him. I currently work at Highline College. I'm working for the AANAPISI department, which is the Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander Serving Institutions. I'm the culture specialist. I'm Samoan and Filipinos, born and raised in American Samoa. I'm here to hopefully talk about some of our foods. Okay.
Talapalava, everyone. My name is Deborah Tugaga. I go by she, her. I currently work at the University of Washington for the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity as an academic counselor. I identify as Samoan. I was born in Samoa, but I was raised majority here, so I identify Samoan American. But I'm super excited to be here, and thank you everyone for being here as well and learning with us.
Hi everyone, my name is Donna Enguerra-Simpson. I work also at Highline College under the Department of Pre-College, and I'm the liaison between Highland Public School District and Highline College.
And our moderators. Don't be shy.
What's up, family? All right, my bad. I just thought, your name was next, so I thought you were gonna go. What's up, family? I'm Edwina. I'm just here just to help in the background support with Lupe. Nice to meet everyone.
Same here. My name is Malai Lupe. I'm here to support as well. And I'm hungry.
Yes.
So are we.
So are we.
And there's food sitting around us.
Right in front of us.
But yes, so we just want to introduce ourselves and our moderators for putting all this together. And thank you all again for coming. Okay, so before we begin, we just want to do a test run of our polling thing. So just to make sure that everyone knows how to do it together. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. All right, can everyone see? Can anyone see the top of that screen?
No.
All right, so if you have access to, or on your computer, you can open another screen. You can type in that website to access the poll, or you can text 22333 with the code 209986, space and your message for your answers, and then it should pop up on here. Oh, we got Des Moines.
Ooh.
So make sure you text the number 22333, and then in that text include the number, space, and your message. So this is just a test, just so you make sure everyone's comfortable and familiar with this.
Kent's in the house.
Ooh. Tacoma. Okay, Marianne.
Portland, okay.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Mateo.
Mateo?
Oh, Tacoma's coming up.
Oh, Tacoma. So like the more people respond, the bigger your letter is.
Oh, look at that. Better way. Is that Chicago?
Wow, we got someone in Chicago. Got
Is that a bedroom?
Bedroom,
Nice,
okay.
Nice. Stay quarantined.
I know who that is.
You don't know,
nice.
this is actually 6 feet between us. Camera angles.
That's we're called Tacoma. Seattle, okay. Wow, Tacoma's in the house.
For
Yeah.
real. And Des
Tacoma, Des
Moines.
Moines.
In is that San Diego? They just put San.
Probably San Mateo.
Oh,
San
gotcha.
Diego. Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you for trying that out. We're going to do one more test run. So the next question will be.
So if you didn't get it on the second try, or the first try, hopefully the second try.
In one word, tell us what island or community you are from. So the app only accepts one word.
So you can text 2233 and then
All
we're
right,
gonna
that's
put
Samoa.
in 43177.
Space and your text.
Gotcha.
Philippines, all right.
Mm. Oh,
Samoa's
Samoa.
getting bigger.
Tonga.
Oh, we got Peru in the chat box.
Zamunda. Okay, Zamunda.
Zamunda. Uvea.
WS
nice.
Western Samoa.
Western Samoa. Oh, we have Lao.
Nice.
Lao people are out there. There. Mostly
Fiji.
Samoans.
Okay,
Fiji.
Fiji.
Okay,
Palau.
Fiji.
Palau. Okay.
Sadie.
Woohoo, Sandy.
Palau.
Hawaii. Okay, yeah.
Aloha.
Cool. All right. Hopefully everyone is comfortable with this
Yes.
this poll. So just wanted to do some practice around before we get into the main presentation. So thank you all for participating. Keep that number on with you. We're gonna keep using it throughout the presentation. All right, go ahead.
All right, everyone. So we just want to go over some ground rules or some home rules or community agreements. Here are a couple things that we would like for you to expect, especially in sharing for today, and some expectations for ourselves as well. First one, take care of yourself. So I know if you haven't noticed already, this is going to be a 12 or an hour and a half workshop. So if you need to take a break, please do take care, take some time off. Make sure to mute your video. We don't want to go with you wherever you're going, especially if you need to take a bathroom break or whatnot. So please do take care of yourself privately. Second, use I statements only. Please do not use other people's opinions as your own. So make sure that when you share with your opinion, just say, I believe that so. Yeah, anything to add to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Donna, you want to do that one?
This one, it's basically like the Vegas rule. The story stays, the lesson leaves. So anything shared here stays here, but the lesson that throughout the story that's been told leaves here. Impact over intent. This one, I like to describe it as like a lot of people say, oh, that's never my intent to hurt you, you know? So think of what you say. Like it's like how are you going to impact? If I say this, how is it going to impact this community or the people that are in this space? So think of that over intent. And then if you do say something and it impacts someone in our community negative, don't be like, oh, that was never my intention. You know, just own up to it. Okay, I did impact that in a negative way, you know?
So vocalize feelings. We encourage you to use ouch, oops, snaps. So if you feel like someone said something that you really agree to or you gravitate towards, feel free to snap. If you feel somebody said something hurtful, you say, ouch, girl, please repeat that, say it again. Or oops, my bad, I didn't mean to say that. Let me rephrase myself. So do vocalize your feelings. Do use the little buttons on there in the chat, the applause.
Use the reaction buttons.
Whatever.
We know we're on Zoom, so it's kind of hard to see your expressions and what you're doing. So if we can use the reaction buttons to show reactions, that'll give us some feedback. Also, feel free to use the chat box. You know, you can type in ouch, oops, or snaps in the chat box as well. Feel free to interact through the chat box that way also.
Agreed.
Step up and step back. So this is basically being respectful of the space you take up. So if you notice that you're talking a lot, be mindful and allow other people to step up. And if you notice that you haven't really said anything and you do want to say something, take that opportunity to say something. So basically just being aware of how much space you take.
Yeah, and also like you all to challenge the mute button. You know, some of us like to just hide behind that mute button, especially during those community or, you know, those big discussions. You know, we very value all of your knowledge. We all know that everyone comes with different forms of knowledge, and, you know, us three are not the only source of knowledge here. And so we hope that, you know, by sharing each other's knowledge, we can make this a better learning community for everyone. So please, we ask you to challenge the mute button, share if you have something to share or something to discuss, and we would really appreciate it.
And silence, okay. So if it's just quiet on the chat or quiet while we're like waiting for people to respond, especially sharing out, it's okay. You know, we know that you're processing stuff, and then don't mind us if we start calling out some people to share. It's just called voluntold, you know, but silence is okay. It's good to process things.
Yeah, and if any time that we're starting to go too fast, because time for us is very, very different, just let us know and we can slow down just a little bit, or if you need more time to process things, just feel free to let us know in the chat box.
Leave space for growth. Basically, just understand it's a process too. Some people already know so many of this already. Some of y'all may know more about this topic than we do, and some of you this might be the first time you are learning this. So do take some time to sit back, maybe reflect after this towards the end, but know that this is also a growth period for all of us in learning. Learning is a process.
Nestor?
Don't yuck our yum, or don't yuck my yum.
Our yum. Just ours.
Especially when it comes to our food. Don't make fun of our food.
Yes.
We like it, but
And we are not chefs. We've never went to any cooking, cuisine, culinary schools. So if we did not cut things accordingly, do not yuck our yum, okay?
but basically we just wanted to share, like, try not to be too judgmental, or
Yes.
just because you don't like something doesn't mean that someone else doesn't like it, kind of thing. And it's okay to share your opinions, but also try not to offend other people as well. Different people come with different backgrounds and different experiences. Some people like certain types of food, some people don't, and that's okay. You don't have to like everything, but just be respectful of each other and people's different opinions. Any other suggestions?
Are there anything that we're missing that you feel like you guys would like to share?
Yeah, feel free to add in the chat box. Maybe we'll give a minute for people if they want to unmute themselves.
Yeah. Think of anything we missed.
Quick shout out.
Yeah.
You can chat in the chat box or unmute yourself.
All right. Oh, wait, there's something that says, oh, I don't know. Do we get free samples? I wish.
We can send you some. I don't know if they'll still be good though.
No,
You have to eat at your own.
How long does food last in the mail? I don't know, Faith.
Yeah, okay, thank you. She's like, let me just shoot my shot.
Send us your address. We'll try to send something non-perishable. All right, I think that's it for the community agreements.
All right.
You want to move forward? Thumbs up for moving forward.
All right, see some thumbs.
Oh, we also want to just
Yeah, so we
shout
wanted to
out
acknowledge
to-
that these are the community agreements from the Black and Brown Summit here at Highland College, and also the Young Educated Ladies Leading Communities here. So these are some of the community agreements that we used or borrowed from them, and so we just want to recognize and acknowledge that.
Yes.
All right, so before we go into the breakout rooms, I wanted everyone to do the polls again. And so for this poll is, what is your favorite cultural food and why? Pull it up.
Donna, do you have a favorite cultural food?
Wait.
What is that?
Why?
All right, so everyone, if you could all text or respond in one word, what is your favorite cultural dish or food?
If you don't know how to spell, it's okay. Just try the best you can.
Yeah, you can spell it
We
however
won't
way
yuck your
your
yum.
indigenous people.
Follow the-
42827 space.
Palusami.
Ooh.
Okay.
Alright, Tara.
Yes.
Bisupo, breadfruit.
Breadfruit.
Yeah. Got a lot of palusamis.
Damn, palusami is going strong. What type of palusami? Like palusami with
Coconut milk.
beef.
Breadfruit,
Oh, sorry, this
gobi,
my bad.
ulu,
My
Oh,
bad. Oh, just,
panipoko.
me,
Coffee,
just the
okay.
coconut milk.
suafai,
Ulu.
Ulu.
Okay, ulu.
Migang. Oh,
Pumpkin.
yeah.
Oh, pumpkin.
Pumpkin. Okay.
the
I
pala.
like pumpkin with eleni. Yes.
What else we got?
Masima salt.
We
Oh.
got crab. We got some crab. Coco. All right.
Palusami is,
Wow.
pangipoko is growing.
We got Hawaii.
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 Bread.
You want to eat Hawaii? Turkey
Hawaiian
tail?
food.
Oh,
Hawaiian
Hawaiian
food.
food.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey tail.
Coco rice.
Ulu. Sinigang. All right.
Otai.
Otai.
Oh.
I know.
Oka crab.
No red rice or Either one. All right, we'll give one more minute.
Focus in there.
Okay.
Crab.
I'm so hungry. What time is it?
Faifala. Ooh, oh, I missed Faifala.
All right, so feel free to take a picture of this.
Oxtail? Yeah, sorry.
Feel free to take a picture of this. So this is just a general feedback of what our group is saying is their favorite food. Looks like palusami. People love crab, polvi masima, panipopo. Oh, all right. And so we're gonna have you all break out into your breakout screen. Oh, I have to do that, right?
Pause while we break you into your breakout sessions.
Breakout
Yes,
session.
I agree, Kiana. Palusami is like the best vegan dish ever.
And so for the breakup room, before we do that, it's basically for you all that are not familiar. It's just we split you into little groups, and then you just chat over a question or a topic that we give you all.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So I know that we're going to try to do this really quickly. If someone could briefly share maybe one or two things that they talked about, some of the culture of food. Remember what we said earlier, we asked you to challenge the mute button. So the floor is yours to everyone.
Brukov is going to share for our group.
Thank you, Bruka. Thank you, Kiana. Appreciate it.
Thank you for volunteering.
Y'all are so messed up. Okay, so we talked about so many things. We talked about loving. I mean, so I was sharing injera as like Ethiopian food, and we talked about loving oxtail. A couple of us in our group at the end, our love for oxtail, and also wanted to try more dishes with oxtail, which we know that like Filipino food has a lot of, as well as a lot of African and Caribbean cultures. But I'll let me not share too much, so I'm gonna step back.
Sounds good, perfect.
Okay.
Maybe
For
two,
other people to step up.
maybe two more people.
Thank you, Tom's group.
Thank you.
I think Saini wanted to share on behalf of our group.
Woo! Yes. Go ahead, Saini.
Take it away.
Who?
No Saini.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay.
Don't mess up, Saini, now. Come on now.
Also? Wait,
Yes.
hold on.
Don't mess up.
Okay, well, our team basically, we talked about a lot of food, but our team, I think we can all agree that we all love palusami. But I know that Edwina, she loves
Pisupo, girl.
Yes,
You're
fruits
messing
Fruits
up.
and veggies. You meant to say fruits and veggies.
Yes.
All right.
And Kukui loves poi and breadfruit and a lot of other food. She just loves food. So
Wow.
it's true, you know.
Fiber, there's a difference. It's specific.
Fiber?
Yeah, because I like poi, fa'i, and ulu.
Awesome.
What is fa'i?
Banana.
Oh, okay.
Steamed banana.
Got it. But you love food too.
Great food. All right, thank you all for sharing. We're gonna, in the interest of time, we're gonna keep moving really, really quick. So thank you all. And before we keep going, I would just want to go over some definitions for this presentation. And just a side note, just for this presentation, there's many definitions to these words, but in the context of this presentation, we just want to make sure it makes sense to people. So these are the definitions. We can send out the PowerPoint if people request it, and we also have it available for people too. So for this one, colonialism or colonize, the process by which a central system of power dominates the surrounding land and its components. This is from Wikipedia. I thought it said it very nicely for our presentation. Post-colonial, I think as a group we decided that, you know, this is usually the time period after colonization, but for this workshop, our communities are still colonized. So post-colonial maybe. So, because we're still under U.S. colony or different other colonial powers. Another word that I want people to understand is decolonize or decolonization. So that is the meaningful act and active resistance of the forces of colonialism and that perpetuate the subjugation and exploitation of our minds, bodies, and lands. Its ultimate purpose is to overturn the colonial structure and realize indigenous liberation. And so we thought that this was a good definition for this presentation. And then the colonial mentality. So it is the internalized attitude of ethnic or cultural inferiority felt by people as a result of colonization.
An example of colonial mentality, right? When people prefer lighter skin versus darker skin, that is very much a colonized view of beauty. So that can be an example of colonial mentality.
Yeah. Okay, and for this presentation, indigenous. So that is anyone originating or occurring naturally in a particular place, a native, Oxford Dictionary, also from Wiki, ethnic groups who are the original or the earliest known inhabitants of an area. Settler/colonizers is a person who has migrated to an area and established a permanent residence there, often to colonize the area. So that's another Wikipedia definition. Cool. Any comments?
No.
All right, so we're gonna go over brief history.
Brief.
This is a long story. No, this is very brief. We're just gonna go over it really fast. All these topics we'll be talking about, you can write a dissertation, you can go on about it, but just because of the interest of time, we're just gonna go over it really fast. But if you have a question, chat in the chat box or unmute real quick. So we're gonna go over it real quick. We're gonna do pre-colonial. So of course, just like real fast, Pacific Islanders lived off the land and the ocean. A lot of our diets have been root vegetables such as taro, cassava, and what's the other family member of taro? Gamu. And starchy vegetables like, it's supposed to be starchy fruits like banana is one, breadfruit, and seafood, fresh fruit, nuts, and pork. I didn't put chicken in there, but our diet as Pacific Islanders, we didn't eat a lot of meat. We did mostly starchy vegetables and starchy roots and vegetables, and meat was like something that we had like for a feast. It was like a rare occasion, like it was really scarce in the islands, so meat wasn't a big consumption food for us.
Yeah, and it's usually like for seasoning our food, and we eat lots and lots of coconut milk.
Yeah, it's similar to a lot of indigenous diets too, right? The majority of it is just veggies and fruits, and then just that side of meat is just for the flavor.
Yeah, and seasoning was limited, so we mostly did salt, which was like sea salt. And then next, post-colonial, which is not really because we're kind of still in it. Nowadays, we eat a lot of canned and processed food, which is like white flour, white sugar, canned meat and fish, mayonnaise, rice, carbonated drinks, and noodles, which I know a lot of foods you listed, they have these ingredients in it. So this is a lot of food that we eat nowadays. And the reason why our diet slowly changed, and you can like go on about this, is I put two reasons, but you can go into more details into it. But the militarization, colonization, of course, is one of the reasons, and cheaper and convenient was the reason why our diets have changed. And I'm gonna go into more details after a poll. So we're gonna do a poll real quick.
And this is just a Zoom poll.
Struggle yam. Who said God moves a struggle yam?
All right, so if you all can see in your Zoom screen.
The question is, which of these foods was brought to the islands by colonizers? So feel free to check whichever box that you feel is the answer.
Oh, Big Mac.
So far we have Big Mac, Spam, corned beef, mutton flaps. Is mutton flaps the lamb?
Yes, so mutton's another word for sheep, kind of like pig is to bacon.
Bananas and turkey tail.
Okay, we'll give you like 10 more seconds, and then we're gonna end the poll.
Oh.
All right. Share results, and these are the results. So yeah, so I think when we're doing this, technically all of these things are brought in. bananas. Depends on what kind of bananas,
Mhm.
because you know we have our indigenous bananas, but now there's a lot of dole bananas or those what do you call it, monocultured bananas or something like that. But in the islands, there are actually many very different types of bananas, different types of coconut, different types of kalos, and each of them have their own different names and texture. And so yeah. Cool.
Sweet. Thanks for participating in that. We're gonna move on. Next one. So a lot of you all said spam. So a big reason why spam came into the islands, and a lot of you from Hawaii would probably also know the history of this better than I would. So during World War II, spam was a big meat exportation because it lasts longer, and with food being scarce, or especially meat, that's what they sent to the military, and that became a staple food here in a lot of the islands. So it was Hawaii was a big island that got impacted by spam, and they slowly trickled down to the other islands as well.
Especially where there are a lot of military bases, you can see like there's a huge influence of like spam and canned products there.
And then another one, colonialism. That's another big topic, or another reason why our diet has changed. And what comes with colonialism are big corporate businesses. So with these big corporate businesses, they brought in what they called their waste, and they turned it into gold by selling it to poor people that couldn't afford meat. So like I said earlier, meat wasn't a big portion of our diet. So what America introduced mulipipi in like the 1950s to us, and we'll show a little video of it too. And they sold it to us, and we consumed it because for us it was hard to like get pigs or cows now back in the days, and now it's like just more convenient. And then mutton flap. So I went back home in Samoa like maybe last summer, and so I was like, oh, lamb is so expensive here. And then when I went to buy lamb in Samoa, I was like, why is it so cheap? Why is lamb so cheap in Samoa? And it's because they're giving you the fatty, like discarded piece of lamb that people don't want. And if you guys have
in the main island,
and a lot of them like kale mamoe and what is it, palusam with mamoe in it, that's usually the piece of lamb that we cook with.
Yeah, because when I first moved up here, when I ordered or bought lamb, I was expecting it to have some fat on it, but most of the lamb that I see here in the US have no fat at all, which to me means like no flavor kind of thing. But you can see that, you know, we were so used to eating like very fatty food. And mulipipi is another term for turkey tail. And those are the two pictures.
So that's how those two big staple items got introduced to the islands. And another reason why we also changed our diet, it's cheaper and more convenient. So like corned beef, like versus if you go to the islands and you get a cow or a calf and you like butcher it, it takes more room to store it, and you have to consume it faster. Versus corned beef, you can have it on your shelves for a long period of time. Same with wahoo and mackerel, and I put spaghetti too because sometimes we like to mix corned beef with spaghetti. And convenience wise, because on my right, yeah, I think it's your right side picture where it shows people working in the plantation, farming, or doing an umu. People usually don't want to go through that whole hassle of going to fishing or working the plantation. Even when I went back home, my uncle who's works in the plantation was like, oh, it's such hard work. So sometimes I feel like I don't want to do this anymore because I'd rather just go to a store and buy a cheap can of mackerel or something, or instead of like buying fresh. So those were some of the reasons why the diet has changed.
Mm-hmm. So we found this clip. I don't know if you guys know Patriot Act. Hassan Minhaj, he has a clip or an episode on obesity, and he actually highlights how obesity impacts and how these imported foods impact our community, especially the Samoan community. So.
Okay, we'll let that sink in for you all.
Yeah, and I think the issue we wanted to share when we wanted to show this video was that even when we try to eat healthy, there are other powers or systemic colonial powers out there that purposely try to make sure that people are eating unhealthy. And that's one of the things, like turkey tail. There's been a huge discussion in American Samoa or in Western Samoa mainly. And when they got rid of it, they got punished. They got banned from the World Trade Organization, so it made harder for them to trade with other countries and to import goods and products. And so they were basically trying to force them, like, eat our turkey tails, or you won't get be part, or you won't get access to these things. And so we wanted to show that, you know, there's so much we can do on our own, but we also got to recognize that there are different colonial powers that heavily weigh in and affect and kind of like make decisions for us without even knowing.
So even after you know, colonization is still, what's why we pick that term post-colonial. Is it really post-colonial because it's still impacting?
That was in 2007. Yeah, and I didn't mention earlier, but the mutton flap, the mom or the lamb one, is actually from Australia and New Zealand. So those are other colonial powers that have influenced our islands, because they're like, okay, this is our waste, let's turn it into gold. You know, because usually they would just throw it away, but now they're making profits over pieces of meat that usually people don't eat.
All right, so we're gonna also talk a little bit about how the consequences of colonial foods have for us. As you noticed already, these are all foods that are imported, right? It's easier to cook, it's easier and easily accessible, it's cheaper most often. But the consequences of that is that a lot of these foods are high in salts and sodium, high in fat and cholesterol, which actually plays a big toll in our health. So according to CDC, for Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the leading causes of death of Pacific Islanders, they stated the top 3 were cancer, heart disease, and stroke. And we wanted to put up this graph from the World Health Organization. They actually did a survey, and they found that there were top 10 obese countries or territories in 2014. And as you can see, Cook Islands, 50.8% of their population are obese. Palau is second, 47.6. Nauru is 45.6. Samoa right there in 44.4. Tonga in 43.3. Niue, Marshall Islands in the 40s, along with Kiribati and Tuvalu. So as you can see, a lot of our diets are also impacted by what is imported, right? And so as you can tell too, what Donna was mentioning too, we also send out exports, right, from our homes. A majority of it is often coconut, bananas, all the good kind of foods that are needed. But what is exported, what we're buying, is actually really bad for us. So if, what's this?
Why are they all PI Nation?
You're right. Thank you so much, Malalupa, for pointing that out. We don't have a lot of data out there. And so we were trying to find data that actually not just shows just PI and some Micronesian, Melanesian data, but the next poll that we have that we're able to find too also includes some Micronesian communities. If you go to the next one. This one actually highlights diabetes in the Pacific Islands. So 2079 years, also 2014, as you can see too, that includes some Micronesian data. So of course, this is 31% of Micronesians have their community and their population of diabetes. And then of course they have Marshall Islands, Kiribati, French Polynesia, and Cook Islands. So a lot of these foods do impact us in our health. And that also talks to about like how readily health resources are present in our communities. So just the FYI, but we'll also include some of our resources at the end. I think that we can.
We have lots more data, and we have like a whole resource page that we'll make available for everyone to have access, so they can do their own presentation or they can do their own research, or if they want to dig deeper into this. And so yeah, so that's so we have like a whole list of resource pages that you can all look through. And so yeah.
And just to answer Lisa's question about resources.
Yeah, are there other groups outside the Pacific that are going through the same thing? Actually, yes, there are. I think if you watch the video clip, the rest of it, it talks about Mexico being heavily affected by that. So basically anywhere where the World Trade Organization or other countries, they basically just throw all their trash to these, other communities, and then, import, like they give all of the bad stuff to these poor communities, and then take from them all the good stuff. I think the example, like in Mexico, it's like they give them Coca-Cola products, they give them like canned food, canned stuff, but we take all of their avocados, all of the healthy stuff and things like that.
And the same with like a lot of PI nations, we give them our coconuts, you know.
Same with a lot of Southeast Asian countries out there as well, like a lot of the rice, a lot of the healthy food they will just take it all and then send back junk stuff. And that's kind of like the dangers of colonization as well. Like the main purpose of the colonizers or imperialism is like making sure that their needs are met first, and then whatever's on the side or the peripherals, then they will give them whatever's left over. And usually whatever's leftovers, it's nothing that they want.
but what we see it as gold, right? In Donna's, like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
everyone loves when there's a piece of pole.
Yeah, or we could be like, oh, this function's lit because we got all this.
We got the money, but really no, it's just really health obesity rates.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that we wanted to let people know, that these things are kind of like embedded in us and it's taught to us kind of thing.
Yes.
And so, and sad that we grew up, we have very fond memories of these things, but I think as very well, we should be very aware of the cause and where these things originated and how it can affect us, so that we can be on a process of decolonizing not only our minds, but also our diets.
Yeah. So this leads us to the question, our next Zoom poll. Do you know anyone in your community who are impacted by the following health disparities? Nestor's going to share with you the poll, so feel free to just click as many that applies to you. So, right, we see a lot of McDonald's, we see a lot of the mutton flaps, we see a lot of these Tupo cans, the Wahoo cans, but do you also see any of the health disparities in our communities? So
no, this is anonymous, and
yeah,
you know, we don't need any names or anything.
Yes.
We just want to see just a poll
Yeah.
of, you know, where everyone's at. All right, 5 more seconds before I end the poll.
Yeah. High blood pressure.
oh my gosh, yeah, that's real.
All right, ending now. Sharing results.
And this is what you all shared. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes.
So far, as you can see, high blood pressure and cholesterol, that plays a big part in, especially in the canned foods that we eat all the time. And also diabetes came in the second, right? And then
Cancer, yes.
right, right.
Yeah, and what's interesting about all of these is that all of these, I guess, diseases and conditions, they're all interconnected. Like usually you don't just have one of these, you have multiple of these all at once. And so that's one thing that we want to make sure, like, you know, this is not just like, oh, you only have heart disease. Usually if you have heart disease, you have high blood pressure, you might have diabetes, you have gout, and you have a high possibility of getting stroke. And sometimes this is even more prevalent in cancer patients. I know a lot of our people in the Pacific, especially in the Micronesian islands, you know, from suffering from nuclear testing, they all have cancers, and adding that on top of the unhealthy diet that they're used to eating, like that compounds everything and makes it even worse for our community and for our people.
Or we can say not used to eating too, but it's only available, right? Because a lot of the Micronesian islands, especially those that are impacted by nuclear testing, your homes are destroyed. So what foods are available to you? So just
yeah, and something that we didn't cover, just because it's like a really big topic to also go over the reason why our diet changes, is also climate change. But that's like a whole nother conversation as well.
Yes. All right, go to the next one. Thank you everyone for the polls. One of the things that stood out to us, especially when we were doing our research, there was this really, especially about like, what are the challenges that majority of us have in eating healthy, and some of the stereotypes that stood out. This quote really hit us in the gut, especially this girl was saying, if you show up at a social gathering with a can of tin corned beef, you're much more well received than if you show up with papayas from your garden. How is that applicable to you, right? Does that make sense? Is it like you realize that what we choose to eat, what we choose as foods of love and care is actually very different than, or is actually different, right? It's like not healthy for us. So
colonial mentality.
Yeah, so we wanted, exactly, not a colonial mentality. So we wanted to go and then have like a short discussion. So we're going to do a breakout room discussion to kind of go over some of the challenges and stereotypes that you might have faced, or you have heard, or you've gone through, especially if you change your diet, especially if you removed meat from your diet. What are some stigmas or challenges, stereotypes that are often associated?
As you were trying to be healthy.
And prepare to choose a representative from each group.
Yes. Someone.
So.
All right, welcome back everyone. So the question was using one word, or using one word, names and stigmas, challenges and stereotypes associated with eating healthy. So teams, we can have 2 share out. Please nominate your leader.
Your sacrificial lamb, your mutton flap.
We can go. Oh.
What up, Nedra?
Hey y'all. So our group, I think we missed the whole one word thing.
All good.
We were talking about stories over here. But some words that I remember was it's expensive, and it's difficult, or in the sense of like, why are you trying to be difficult or different?
Yeah. Yes.
But one thing I wanted to share real quick, we were talking more so about the impacts of eating healthier. And so I shared I was vegetarian for a short time, and like I felt a lot of like there's a difference in how you view life. You're more positive, more awake, just more present, more energized. And Kiana shared that maybe, you know, it may be this idea that the core of all of our struggles is how we feel. And so if we're not feeling good about ourselves, or, you know, like lethargic all the time, we're not going to get anything done. So there's good things that come with eating healthier. That needs to be shared more.
Yes, agree. Thank you for sharing. Who's next?
I'll go. So, me and my group, we were talking about why, well, we didn't do the one word thing, but we were talking about why we didn't really eat healthy all the time. And for me personally, it's because I kind of get lazy. And I think like, if I just proportion the bad food I eat, then, you know, it's not that much like work, but I not eating too much. And another thing that we brought up was that our resources around us didn't really have the freshest like vegetables and healthy things to eat. And at Heinlein, the pantry, like sometimes the food's not, it's expired, and yeah. So that's what we had.
Well, I like how you tied it on to like your local community.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share?
We'll do one more share.
I'll go next.
Go ahead.
So my group talked about parallels in not only Pacific Islander communities, but like Black community as well. Like, it's just been established, things sometimes taste better deep fried in grease. And and just like our communities bond over food. So like for me personally, when I started changing my diet, my parents took so much offense because I had to like control myself with how much food I ate, or like what food they made. Like they make fried rice a lot, and I had to make a public announcement one time because after 3 months of telling them I don't eat rice, they still keep trying to give me rice. And I told them like, hey, I'm not eating rice still, and they're just like, what? Why aren't you eating the fried rice I made you? Or like, I bought this for you. How come you're not eating it? And I'm just like, because I'm trying to not be fat. And they're just like, you're always gonna be fat. You're this is our family. And I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna let that happen. And they're just like, you're gonna be fat. And I'm just like, whatever. Not yeah. So that was like sometimes the experience, like they'll just say like, oh, it's in the family, like you're not gonna break free from it. And it's like, I will. Or I hope I will. And you just gotta keep trying sometimes, even if they like get mad when you don't eat their food and you love them.
Yeah, thank you everyone for sharing. Thank you for that. And the reason why I want to bring that up, because there's so much stereotypes and stigmas that go around being healthy. I know a lot of the things that we hear all the time is, oh, you guys are so bougie. Why are you trying to be white? And I'm like, well, actually, we were being organic and, way before white people and hipsters and all of that. It's just our diets were changed. We were eating healthy, and then these things happen and change the way how we perceive food. And so we just wanted to share that. And we also wanted to, be real with everyone. Like, not everyone can afford, the whole food or those super healthy foods out there. And sometimes, we got to eat what's there for us. And thank you for sharing, like, your parents. I know from our own experience, like with our mom and dad, when we tried, because a lot of them had a lot of these conditions, and we tried to help them eat healthier, they were like personally attacking us, saying, you don't love us anymore. After everything we've done for you, and you're feeding us this, and we're like, we're doing this because we love you, kind of thing. But that whole thing of like not giving them the food that they crave or want is like, it can be a very, very difficult experience, especially for Pacific Islanders, because we always try to eat together. When we have our big kongais or big gathering, cookouts and stuff like that, it's always very difficult. And like what we shared, like if you're not eating the food, you're showing big disrespect to your family, you know, and they're saying that you're trying to be other, you're trying to be fiancé or something else.
And this also is another example of decolonizing, right? Decolonizing is a process. It's hard. You're often going to get people yelling at you and telling you don't love them. And then you'll often be parts where you honestly might not love yourself too, especially like we talked about how diets impact how we feel. So decolonizing, we hope this is a great conversation, that starter for a lot of you, especially for your family if you want to do this too. But we appreciate you sharing. We also, go ahead.
And also like be aware the, what you call the institutions that contribute to these things as well. Like a lot of the places we live in are food deserts. So they purposely don't give access to good food or fresh food to poor communities of colors. And most of us live in those poor communities. And so we just want to be aware that, you know, we are also like, we got to take it on both fronts, like not only within our own people, but within this different institutions that perpetuate these things.
Yes, agreed. AKA colonial the racism. Another term for another workshop. So, okay, we finally made it to the food demo. Please don't yuck our yum. Just a quick reminder, you know, we are not professional chefs. So here is our menu of the day.
Yes, and you know, just in being conscious of time, we had to do a lot of stuff beforehand because it would take a while and this would have been a hell long presentation. So moving on, we're gonna start with our spam musubi. I'm gonna give that one. And so everyone is very familiar with spam musubi. Oh, I know, it's got like a mukbang.
With the hand. Look at the hand, like mini hands. Can you see it?
And so we know that everyone probably has like a can laying around. And just remember that one can is supposed to serve like what? 6 or 12 people or something like that.
Yeah, and you know one can feed one person
in
your household.
Like one person, maybe two. And so you just got to be careful with your serving size and portionings. And one way that we try to make this a little bit healthier is to try to use less sodium version, you know, try to control our salt intake as well. And, you know, try to use what you call less sodium soy sauce also, kind of thing. And then Deborah came up with a very good idea of a very healthy alternative to spam musubi if you all want to try it out.
And she's pesky too.
And so Deborah's pescatarian, so she don't eat seafood.
So I know a lot of you love your avocado toast. So that avocado goes really well with the rice. I know some of you might not like it. You can use herbs or I put garlic salt just to give it a little extra flavor in case you don't really like that. But you just put it in between the two rice and we'll wrap it up lovingly in a slice of pieces of seaweed. And then you put it in your mouth and it's delicious, healthy.
And we're staring at these food all day.
I know.
So that's one healthy variation.
One healthy variation.
We saw some people put tofu, like I love fried tofu on top of this.
Shout out to Kiana who loves fried tofu.
Yes, it's Kiana's favorite. Get her lots of fried tofu. And so yeah, I think another alternative is also you can put shrimp on it. Basically another sushi.
And if you don't like avocado, some people have also put seaweed salad in the middle.
All right, so a lot of different options. The next one we're doing is pagayerengi. How many of y'all know what this is?
Nope.
Yes, hands up, yes. So this is basically, it's fish with coconut. Traditionally, what I learned from my mom about pagayerengi is that in the umu or like earth oven, when they would make wrap fish in banana leaves and cook it, and so when they have leftover fish, they would take those leftover fish and mix it with coconut milk, coconut cream. I just learned that there's a difference between coconut milk and coconut cream. So yeah, Nestor can share what the difference is.
I know a lot of us, especially Pacific Islanders, love to use coconut cream and we're used to making it ourselves. But there's a really big difference because coconut milk, they actually put the coconut water in it as well. But if you just want the cream, just look for the one that says coconut cream. And it'll taste a little bit more authentic. But if you can make it fresh, it's always better.
Yeah, so if you have coconuts at home, you can just swallow your popo and squeeze it. So this, bear with me, and a lot of people have different versions of making this. This is just the version I made. Growing up in Samoa, traditionally men cook this because it's done outside in an umu. So like when I came here, it was my first time actually making it and making it in the traditional oven. Follow your popos. Okay, Kiana. So this one is mackerel. So this is what we call elengi. So this is with oil. Traditionally, you would just have fish in its fish water, which is this can. So if you want to go the healthier route, this is a lot more healthier. Do the mackerel in its own water. So this is like the mackerel you want to look for. I don't know about the brand, but just have it in the fish oil. But this one, because we don't have an extra one, we're just gonna do one with the oil, the natural oil. And because you can just open it real quick. A lot of Samoans love to put like what they call the fish juice in it because it's just so lololo, which is not good. But
Lololo means fatty.
yeah. So you just put, and I know this is canned, but like if you have, like you can also do this with salmon. So like you cook salmon, if you have leftovers, you can use that. So if you have leftover fish, baked fish, or even fried fish, because in order to make this dish, the fish has to be cooked.
Yep.
So another reason why our diet was changed, it was just a convenience, because the canned food already comes cooked, so they don't have to do an extra step of cooking the fish in the banana leaves or just cooking the fish in general.
You want to make it healthy, just make your own fish, season it, cook it beforehand, and mash it up.
So this is what it looks like. It has all the suo, which is the juice, and you just like want to like mash it with a fork or your hands if you want. This is what it looks like. And then this is coconut cream, not milk. And so how the Samoans, like when you ask everyone like, oh, how much, what, or what, it's like eyeball. So it's like, if you want a lot of coconut cream, you want a more creamier pai or consistency, you put more. I like to have more coconut so it can actually caramelize in the oven. So I'm gonna do this.
I know, we're trying not to ruin the equipment.
Yeah. Put it in and then you mix it. Oh yeah. So you can comment down here if you have different ways of also making this dish, because I know this is popular and different. And if you notice that the coconut milk and is kind of like bubbly, that's because the oil, if you have the water, it doesn't do this. So that's the difference. Some people like oil just because it creates that fatty thing, but for a healthier version, just have the mackerel in water. And then onions. So we put onions a lot. Some Samoans like to put a lot of onions, but I like a little bit. And then you just mix it. Lemon squeeze. And then this is actually, it's lime or kipolo as what we use. This is like our family secret or not so family secret, because I know a lot of people use this too as well, which is lemon. This is like optional, but we love to put kipolo or not lemon, lime. It's lime, sorry. In Samoa, we call anything that's round and citrusy a lemon, but it's a lime. So you just want to squeeze like one. But if you like that citrusy taste, you can put two. So it's all taste preference. So you add that, you mix it, and then you can add salt for taste, but we're not gonna add salt to this one because we're trying to be healthy, you know. Another thing that we do in our family for our whai'aileni is we put these red chili peppers. Yeah, this is a Filipino one. So my dad back home, he grew this in our backyard. So this was always like an element of us adding our biracial elements into it. So this is Filipino and we would add it. So we just crush it and we'll just add a little bit of that in here. And you stir it. And then you put it in the oven at 350 degrees. What kind of pepper is it? It's
so you can use Thai chili peppers. I know that's very common in a lot of Asian markets, but if you know a Filipino store, just look for tiny, they call it bird's eye peppers or something like that, but that's what they look like.
And people have the option of putting green or red in it. So this is a Filipino, this is what the green one looks.
Yeah.
But after you mix it, you put it in a bowl that can be put in the oven, and you put it for 350 degrees for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how crispy you like it. And then you broil it for 5 to 10 minutes. I like to have a little bit of burnt on it because it adds that extra like char flavor in it. So this is what it looks like. You see the red chili pepper. Oh, it smells so good. This, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten the whole day, y'all. I'm so hungry. So this is what it looks like. Traditionally, they cook it in a umu, in a popo, so the coconut shell. They'll cook it in it, and they'll cook it openly or put a foil on it, and they will like have this char on it, and it's so good just to have char. Some people don't like the char, so some people just cook it till when it cooks, and then they won't broil it. So it's totally optional to you all. But this is a good pesky meal if you're a pescatarian.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
And of course, what goes well with by Aelengi, we also like to eat a lot of bananas, the Robin.
Oh, Nestor's gonna come.
Oh, am I doing this?
Yes.
Okay, my turn. So typically we like to eat raw bananas for our meals. They're kind of like our rice, especially in the islands. I know Samoan culture, we like to eat palifufai. And so that means basically boiled bananas. There's also palifukalo, which is like boiled taro. So palifu kind of like means to cover or to boil in something. And so usually you try to pick unripened bananas. Those are kind of difficult to find here sometimes because most of them are already ripe. They already look like adult bananas. But we found out that plantains kind of work too. Adds a little bit of sweetness. If you like that, my mom doesn't like sweet things and she's not used to that. But you know, you can use plantains as a substitute. And so just going to show you quickly how traditionally Samoan people would peel a banana kind of thing. And so usually you have like I like to use a butter knife, but back in the islands we would like carve out our own little knife stick kind of thing. And then you just cut it down in the middle. And then you use the tip of the banana or the tip of the knife to peel. And usually, if you're a professional umu maker, you can do like this in seconds, but it's been a while for me.
Oh my gosh.
Don't hate, don't judge, don't yuck my yum. We'll see how this banana turns out. Yeah. So this is kind of how traditionally you peel it. Some people peel it very, very nice, but because this is live, it's very difficult, and I feel the pressure from everyone, and everyone's judging me in their gaze.
No one's judging you, bro. You're doing great.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, just as long as you get the peel off. And you're basically using the tip of the knife to separate the peel and the banana, because it's kind of hard to peel off with your fingers and your hands, and it comes off and you just cut it off. And so it'll look like this. And then typically you put this banana inside a pot, and then you would boil it however long it takes, depending on how much you make. And so typically how I test it out, like if you poke it with like a fork or something, if it's kind of like a potato, if that's how it feels, it's usually pretty cooked. And then after that, if you want to add, you pour out all the water once you've boiled the banana. And then if you want to finish it off, you can put in coconut cream. And so this coconut cream, it's basically you just use coconut cream, and then you add onions and whatever kind of herbs and seasoning you like in it, and then just boil it for like 15 minutes or to whatever consistency that you like. And then you can just mix it together. And this is kind of like the end product. You have like bananas like that. And so this has been boiled. So you can see some of them are sweet. They're actually kind of nice if you have young children that doesn't like starchy stuff, but this is kind of like a starchy, sweetish kind of thing. And so you can use this and you can dip it inside here, or you can cook the bananas inside the coconut all together. Right? And it goes very well with aikikaki. You just flick it off, dip it in, and then eat it. Oh, and another thing that we also do, we want to bring the raw one. We also have taro, very, very simple. This is, unfortunately, it's hard to find like Samoan taro, things like that. I think we got this from like Wajimaya, another Filipino stores. This is what it kind of looks like. It's already processed, it's already cooked, or it's already cut up. But traditionally, what people would do back in the islands, they would have like their own taro patch, because Samoans don't just eat any other taro. They have a specific type of taro that they go for, and usually they grow their own specific taro based on their preference. And sometimes these plantations will last generations, and people will come and try to steal each other's taros because they like a very specific kind. And so usually they would use the cans, they would cut it in half, kind of thing and use the ends to like scrape off the taro. But if you're here and you find a whole taro, just use a knife just to be a little bit safer. And then you just put it in the oven for like 400 degrees, and then you bake it until it gets really hard and starts to crack. And then I like baked taro because I like the crunchy texture of it. And so you can just like break it open and then chew it. So it's crispy on the outside and then soft on the inside. So I really like that texture. And you can dip it in coconut milk and eat it with anything else. And yeah, there we go.
Next we have Deborah.
Hello everyone, it's my turn. It's the last food of the day. It is oka. All right. So I kind of learned how to make this yesterday. Nestor was actually my chef. But since I have nothing else to say in here, I will just talk to you about the oka. So we pre-cut some of these. This one is the yellowfin tuna. So we bought this from Uwajimaya. So we just got the pre-cut. But you can use any fish, right? Specifically.
Usually try to
tuna.
use fresh fish as much as possible.
Look at that
just
color.
to be healthy, I would recommend using sushi grade fish. If it's, if you get that's hard to find, just make sure you use very fresh fish, like if you catch it yourself.
So what we usually typically add in oka is coconut cream. So as Donna, we love our coconut. Coconut. Oh, sorry, Nestor wants to do the veggies first. So we're gonna add our onions, red onions. Can you see that? We're gonna add in here.
You can also add white onions, but some people like the mellower taste of red onions.
We're gonna add some veggies. So some people don't like to add tomatoes, but we like to add tomatoes. And you, just like Donna says, eyeball it. So it depends if you want a little bit, if you want a lot. I like a lot. Then we also add our cucumber. So for the cucumber and for the tomatoes, we didn't know this, but you also should take out the wet parts, the seeds, so that it doesn't get overwatered.
Yeah, doesn't get overwatered or the taste doesn't get overwhelmed.
All right, so I love my cucumbers. So I'm just gonna add a little bit. All right, and then so messy. We add what else?
Oh, we have to do the limes.
Oh, the limes right here.
So sorry, we forgot a step. Usually, if you want to cook the fish a little bit, you can marinate the fish first in lime, so that will cook for a little bit. Especially if your fish is questionable or like. Usually I would taste the fish. If I like the freshness of the fish, then I wouldn't marinate it for too long. But if the fish has like a little bit fishy taste to it and you don't really like it, you just marinate it longer so that the lime will overtake. But just know that the longer you marinate it, the more harder the texture will be and the less it will taste like fresh fish.
Do you still want me to put in?
Yeah, you just can put it in.
So we put in the lime. And in case you don't like our recipe, go ask your mom, ask your auntie, ask your grandma, your best friend who's probably older than you. I don't know, someone who actually enjoys making this a lot, unlike us. So should we add another one? So we're adding a whole lime, y'all. Oh, and sometimes we zest this, that extra flavor. Oh my God, it's taking forever to. These are hard limes. My bad. All right, so we added this, and then now, Nestor, you want me to add the salt?
You want to add the cream?
Okay, cream first. My bad. Who really is the chef? Okay. All right, so we add it in. So eyeball it again. It depends on how much you want to use.
And it's very important for this one to use coconut cream because if you use the one with the milk, the coconut milk one, it'll be too watered or watered down. If you only have coconut milk, I would suggest you just like leave it down to let it settle, because then the coconut milk and the coconut water will separate. And just make sure you use the very white part of that thing. And then stop pouring it when you see the white part of it.
Another thing that we left out that a lot of experience add to their oka mayonnaise to make it healthy. So if you want a healthier version, don't add mayonnaise, because with some, or like at least in our family, we like to put mayonnaise in almost everything. So like for a healthier version, don't add mayonnaise in it.
Yeah. And salt and pepper to taste.
All right, I'm just gonna mix it. Can you see that? All right.
That looks bomb.
Oh my God, do not yuck our yum.
She said it looked bomb.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said it looks wrong.
Dang, Deborah.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
And usually it'll be nice to let the flavors settle down and marinate. So probably at least 10 to 15 minutes. And this is one that's pre-made already. It's all ready to go. Yeah. These are all our food.
Oh my goodness.
I'm bringing up our food.
Sorry, now we're trying to beat time. You been on time, Tuna?
Oh,
Okay,
did
and
someone eat the other
then-
musubi already?
Donna ate the musubi. I'm hungry. All right.
Yeah, and so this is our little food, a little mukbang. We thank you all for coming to our workshop. We hope you all learned a little bit. We'll be here eating, and if you have any questions, let us know about the presentation. Oh, I think we have, our events. Sorry, let me share this screen.
Yo, I'm cooking pisupo too. I'm dead.
It's a healthy, add lots of vegetables.
No, I'm okay. I just add corn and spaghetti.
Colonize.
So it's tomorrow. Rick Bonus, who will be talking about tuition in school. Please check out the bit.ly here on the website. There were some of the flyers, so you're more than welcome. And also know that we have plenty more workshops coming up throughout the month of May. Yeah, so check out the bit.ly. They're updated every week. So if you're all interested, please stop on by.
And then also just shout out to all the bomb mothers out there. It is Mother's Day.
Woo woo.
Your lovely moms and soon to be mom. Happy Mother's Day. So if you have any questions, feel free to just
We'll be staying here for a couple of minutes, so if you guys have questions, I'm gonna walk this a little bit longer.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank